Hey team, welcome to this training where we are going to be talking about understanding the website and funnel editor. So this is going to be a little bit of a different training where yes, we are talking about the step-by-step of getting your website, your great website set up. But in this training, we're going to kind of just talk about in general what the website and funnel editor is because you are going to be spending quite a bit of time building out landing pages, building out funnels, building out websites. And so it is going to be very important for you to be able to understand, hey, what is the ClientKit funnel and website editor? How does it actually work? And that's exactly what we're going to talk about inside of this specific training. Okay, so first and foremost, you always want to make sure that you are starting off with some sort of template, okay? And the reason we say that is because it's going to make it so much easier for you rather than building from scratch, right? So let me show you an example here. We are here under sites, and then obviously we have funnels and websites. We've talked about the difference between what a funnel is and what a website is in previous trainings. Biggest thing you got to know here is that websites have a lot more pages. Funnels, you can kind of build a website in a funnel, but funnels are usually made for marketing, paid ads and those kinds of things. But wherever you are, right, there are templates in here. So you go new website, you can start from blank, but that's very difficult, right? Instead, you just start off with the template. It's so much easier. And we've done a lot of the hard work in partnering with ClientKit to make sure that they have a lot of the assets that are going to be good for your specific industry. That's the reason why we went ahead and partnered up with them. And the funnels is the same thing right here, template versus starting from scratch, right? But hypothetically, let's say, for example, we are here inside of a test website, and I'm going to go ahead and walk you through exactly what the funnel / website editor is, because they are exactly similar and they are actually the same, and it's just about dragging and dropping, okay? So this is what we're going to go ahead and talk about. You got all of your different pages here, and then you have the edit buttons right over here. Now, when you have the edit buttons, you can click edit, and that'll go ahead and open it right up there, or you can go ahead and click on this and open in a new tab, and that will actually go ahead and open that up in a new tab, where that sometimes makes it easier, right? So you have the tabs up here. If I drag that down, that does make it sometimes a little bit easier to be able to have a different tab on there, okay? So for my purpose, I'm going to go ahead and edit any new tab. You'll see that that goes ahead and opens right there, and that is going to go ahead and take us directly into the website editor, okay? And so this is what the editor looks like, and I do have inside of the guide a bunch of different sections that I'm going to go ahead and walk you through. So biggest thing you want to know, you see how it says it goes orange, purple, right? You don't want to get overwhelmed with this. It is very, very easy and very straightforward. So that way, unlike years ago where you had to go ahead and learn coding and you had to learn all this sorts of stuff in order to build a website, now it's super, super easy as long as you can just learn how to be able to use this, okay? So we have our main bar right over here, and then I'll walk you through what each of these different settings are, and then I'll walk you through what these aspects up here are as well, okay? So first and foremost, we have this plus button here on the left side. Now, this is where it has elements, okay? Now, elements are different things that we can go ahead and add, so that way, you have a headline, you have a subheadline, you have a paragraph, you have bullet, all of these, forms, blog posts, image slider, videos, images. These are basically all of the different pieces, kind of like a Lego piece that we can build together and add and drag and drop, right? So let's say, for example, I want to have a survey right here. Boom, I could drop a survey right here. I could drop a whole bunch of different stuff. Now, the basic foundation of this, and let me actually start a new kind of section here, so that way I can walk you through this, okay? So let's say if I add a new section, and it starts off with the green section first, and here I can either have a full width section, so you'll see how a full width section means that it takes up the space of the entire page, okay? Or I could go ahead and let's say I put a green, I'm going to go ahead and have a wide section or a medium section, or let's say a small section, right? So you'll see how there is a difference between this section and that section right there, right? And so what it does is right here, it starts off with the sections, which are green. And the section is going to be the very first category, the very first part that you need to have, okay? So green is where it starts off, which is a section, and you can have a different, full width, wide, medium, small. We talked about that, okay? Now, within a section, okay, so this green part here, this is a section. Within a section, you are then actually going to have a row, okay? And so let's say right here, if I put my mouse over this, I then add a row, you'll see that within a row, I can have a 1 column, a 2 column, a 3 column, 4 column, 5 column, 6 column, right? So let's say, for example, let me show you an example on here, where if we're looking at this, right over here, this is a section that has 2 columns on it, right? Because you have the Q&A here on the left and the right side. Now, of course, it's just an example site, but I'm showing you here what we're talking about, right? So you can have on here options 1, 2, 6 columns. So let's say hypothetically, I'm going to go ahead and put a 2 column. Boom. So you'll see just like that, it's gone ahead now. And so inside of our green, right over here, right? So inside of our green, we now have this blue, and this blue is made up of a 2-column row, okay? From there, we then have our columns, which are purple, right? And so you'll see on here, if I put my mouse, it actually goes ahead and gives us that purple, and that purple is actually, first column, second column. You can see that right there at the bottom right, okay? And then within a column, we can now have different elements, okay? And elements are going to be orange. And so that is going to be where we can add in a text box, we can add in a form, a blog, media, something custom, countdown, all sorts of different elements are what we can actually go ahead and add inside of a column. So now if I go ahead and click on add an element, you'll see that it pops up that add an element kind of here on the left side that we were on earlier. And from here, I can go ahead and say, you know what? I want to add a headline. Okay, cool. Well, I got my headline there, right? So now I can go ahead and put, this is a test headline, right? And so if I go ahead and put my mouse over this and I double click this, you'll see it gives me a bunch of different options. I can bold this, I can italicize this, I can strike this through, I can underline it, I can hyperlink it. Hyperlink makes it a link, right? I can go ahead and have all of these different options on here. And then here on the right side, you'll see that right over here, there is a little cog icon, right? You see that little cog? It looks like a setting cog. If I click on that, it actually shows up all of the different options, right? So I can put this to the left, text align, I can change the letter spacing, I can change the font size if I want to make this really big. I can go ahead and make it really big if I want to, right? I can go ahead and change the color of this. I can mess around with the margin and the padding around this. So it really gives us so much flexibility and so many different options around what we want to do for this orange element. And remember, orange element is this elements, which are the individual pieces of this, right? Now I can do the exact same thing if I wanted to do this on the purple, right? So the purple also has a setting cog, and I just got to put my mouse right over there, and then I can show the purple. I get the setting cog, and you'll see here on the left side, now all of the settings panel here went ahead and changed, because now these are all going to be the settings for the actual column, right? So that is for the column. I can then repeat this, and I can do this for the row as well. So this is the blue section, right? And if I click on the setting cog, I can now see all of the different general and advanced settings that are actually for the row. And then I can also repeat this again for the actual section as well, right? So if I go ahead and click on that, I can click on that as well. Okay, the setting cog there. So that is going to be what we wanted to talk about here when we talk about the object categories, was understanding, hey, there's sections, sections then include rows, rows then include columns, and columns then include elements. Okay, very, very important. So that way you understand how kind of the anatomy of all of this comes together. Now, the other thing I want to go ahead and walk you through is that if we go ahead and click on this button here, which is the layers button, you see how before I had to actually put my mouse and find where the cog was? Well, sometimes that can get a little bit kind of difficult, right? Because you're having to put your mouse and it gets a little bit challenging to actually figure out like, hey, how do I place my mouse appropriately? So you can use layers, and layers are going to show you, hey, these are all of the different sections that you have, and it kind of shows you a high level overview of like, okay, hey, these are your sections, right? So right here, this is your section, you got your rows, then you got your elements underneath it, and so it'll walk you through this, and from here you can actually then edit and clone, and actually just a little bit of a different way to see all of the different layers that might be on your website or that might be on your funnel. Okay, so that's a different way that you can go ahead and do that there. Now, real quick, what I do want to go ahead and show you is I do want to show you some of the element specific settings that are available as well. Okay, so let's go down here to our test that we went ahead and made. Is that if I go ahead and click on this plus button here, that's the orange, I can go ahead and add an element right underneath the element that we have, right? So we have headlines, paragraphs, bullet points, we have forms, so you can add a form on here as well. And so this is the reason why when we walk you through the business platform, it's so important to have this integration that is all together in one place. So that way, hey, if you go out and create a form in a different part of the business platform, then what you can do is you can go ahead and easily implement it right here without having to need any coding or anything like that. In the same way, you also have media, right? So if you want to go ahead and upload a video that you might have, an image that you want to do, an FAQ section as well. You also have custom right over here. So you can add surveys, calendars, you can add a countdown timer to a specific part of your website. You have all of these different features that are on here as well, okay? Now they do also have inside of ClientKit this AI here that allows you to be able to go ahead and generate text via AI, which is really, really cool. So that's another additional feature that could be possible as well. And then also I want to go ahead and show you the padding section of this, okay? Because padding is also very important, especially when we talk about optimizing the page. What padding does is padding actually goes ahead and puts the space around the entire object, right? So you can have padding that might be, really far up. You can have a margin, you can have padding around this. So all of this is something that you can play around with depending on how you want to get the size of, how things need to be positioned on the actual page. So that's very important there. Okay. Now let's go back over here. So you got tracking code. This might be a little bit, we'll talk about this if you ever need this. This will be for tracking purposes on your page. So that's here, which is the second or third button here. Well, I skipped this part actually. This was pages. So pages is going to be all of the different pages that, if you remember when we were here earlier, all of these different pages, if you actually wanted to jump between your pages without having to go back to the main site here, to the main website section, then you can actually switch between the pages that are within that website as well. Now, if you go ahead and close pages right here, you'll see the next one on here is custom CSS. CSS is just a fancy way to be able to say code that changes some of the way that things are going to look. Again, this is more advanced, not necessary for you to know specifically about right now, but if necessary, we can make a tech tutorial for that in the future. We then have typography. So typography is going to be, hey, this is going to be the overall default font and colors that you might be looking for, right? So link color, text color, all this kind of stuff. Again, we don't use this too much. We usually go ahead and just change things ourselves using the settings cog, so we can mess with the color options here on the right side. But again, this entire tech tutorial is just to give you an idea of, hey, this is what the editor looks like. So as we start to get into customizing the template that you have imported, you're familiar with how to actually do that. Okay, so that's typography. After that, we then have background. So this is going to be if you want to have the main background behind everything. So let's say, for example, I came here to background and I went ahead and changed this to black. You'll see that that does change it there. Now, the reason it didn't change it here is because this section probably has some sort of background by itself. So if I click on setting here, you'll see that it does have a background media asset here. That's the reason why this did not change to black, is because this section has a specific background. But if you want to change the main background for everything that doesn't have a custom background, then that's how you would go ahead and do that there, which was background. Okay. After that, we have pop-up settings. So a pop-up setting is going to be whenever you can have a button, and let's say the button you have on here is that the button action is that it's going to go ahead and open a pop-up. So that way, when that button is actually clicked, free personalized nutrition consultation in this example, then it's going to go ahead and open up the pop-up, and then this is what that pop-up is going to look like. So you might have seen this around the internet, and there are different pop-ups that you can kind of program there, and you can put different elements on this as well, right? So let's say, for example, in the pop-up, I wanted to have a countdown timer. I can go ahead and do that, and then I can click on the settings cog, and I can change the timings for the countdown timer if I wanted to. So biggest thing to understand is that every single one of these different sections have settings, and then all of the different elements further have settings. So let's say, you know what? This timer settings, all of that is going to be there as well. Okay, so we talked about the pop-up settings. After that, we have SEO metadata. So SEO stands for search engine optimization. You don't have to memorize that. You don't have to remember that. But what you want to know is that SEO metadata, search engines are like Google, Bing, all these different places that social media is often, a lot of times, are search engines as well. And so SEO metadata, we're going to have a step that's going to walk you through how to better optimize this. But this is what's going to allow you to be able to show up on Google rankings, on the first page, on Google Maps, right? On Google search. All of that is based off of your SEO metadata. So what title do you want to put for this specific page, the description, the keywords, the author, the social media image that's going to show up, right? All of that is going to be extremely helpful to be able to go ahead and rank on Google, especially if you're looking for keyword optimization and being able to show up and get a lot of leads through that way. Okay, so that's SEO metadata. After that, we then have preview custom codes, which again, this is going to be a little bit more advanced. It's just a matter of if you have any custom codes. Again, you don't have to worry about that. After that, from here, we then have showing up different options of 2-column mode, right? So if we show you here, if I go to auto, this is actually going to go ahead and make this into either a persistent, right? So if I click on things, it'll actually go ahead and make it like that, or it's going to go ahead and make it separate on here, right? So again, that's just a view if you want to actually look at the editor in a specific way, okay? Right here, this is actually, again, it'll just go ahead, if you click on this, it'll take you over to pages again. So all you do is you click on this, you can switch between the different pages of the website. Over here, and this is a very important feature because we're going to walk you through how to optimize your website for mobile versus desktop. And this is very important because you can actually look at, hey, how is my website going to show up on mobile? And this is extremely important, especially now that a lot more traffic is coming on mobile. You want to make sure that you're optimizing your website for mobile versus desktop. Okay, so we'll walk you through more of those features in upcoming trainings, but I just want to walk you through, hey, that is exactly where that feature is to see, hey, how is my website going to look on mobile versus how is it going to look on a desktop computer? Okay, from there, we go ahead and talk about here, this is version. So this is going to be, I don't want to click this right now because right now it says that I haven't saved. Actually, let's go ahead and save real quick. So on here, it says that I got to update my SEO metadata. So I save. saved, right? Now, if I go ahead and click on versions on there, you'll see that it goes ahead and takes me over to a separate section where it says, hey, you know what? These are the changes that you've gone ahead and made inside of your website. And so you see this was the original one. And then if I go then over to the current version, it shows me that I have that test that we went ahead and made that was down here, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and click on back. I just want to show you that if you do end up making a mistake, for the most part, it should be saved over to versions, okay? Now over here, just so we can see our test, let me go ahead and change our background color back to what it actually was, which was background right here. So we're gonna change this back to being white so we can see our test boxes over here. And then what you'll see on here is that if I go ahead and make any change, right? What you'll notice is that over here where it says undo versus redo, now, this only applies to really big changes, right? So let's say, for example, right there, I made a big change, I added an element, versus sometimes if I just make a change like that, it won't always show up. But the big thing is you want to know is that you can actually undo and redo here, but at the same time, it only accounts for big changes. Okay, so don't think that you're gonna, make a, undo, smaller mistakes there. But I just want to show you that that is how you undo and redo there. And then over here, this is if you wanted to hide or show the settings for each of the different elements that we're talking about. Or you can also go ahead and click on that X right there. It does the exact same thing. Okay. Now, a couple buttons over here that are very important is that you want to make sure that you are saving regularly. This is very important. Okay, because you don't want to make a bunch of changes. You're working on this for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes. And then you make a change and then all of a sudden it's gone. No, you want to make sure that you are saving pretty regularly. Now, every time you save, if you don't have any SEO metadata, it is going to ask you to fill that out because it's thinking that you're going to go ahead and publish this next. But if you're still working on it and you haven't yet gotten to the SEO metadata training, then you can just go ahead and ignore this. You can click on update SEO metadata and then it will go ahead and actually save right there. Biggest thing is that you do want to make sure that little orange button that was there, make sure that after you save that does disappear. From here, this button right here that looks like an eye, this is actually if you wanted to preview what the page was actually going to look like, okay? So this is what the preview of the page would look like. So that's what, if you were to go ahead and do it like that, that'll show you the preview. And then publish, this is what's actually going to go ahead and push your website live, okay? And so this is where if you're going ahead, other than save, so save doesn't push it live, save just goes ahead and saves the version of it, so that way you can go ahead and access it if necessary, and then publish actually pushes that live to your actual website and to your domain. Okay, so we've gone ahead and talked about padding, we've talked about the back button, we've talked about desktop versus mobile, we've talked about a bunch of the different settings here in regards to all of these over here, we've talked about undo and redo, we've talked about the pop-up, right? We did also go ahead and talk about the objects and being able to manage all the different objects, the versions as well as the preview, as well as making sure that you save also. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back over here and I'm going to walk you through. When you're here on the website, it also shows you stats. And so this is, hey, how many people landed on different parts of your website. So you can actually track conversions and data around that. Okay, and you can change the date around that here as well. So that's here on the main site. This applies also for funnels. From there, if you had any sales products that you were going to go ahead and design, that would be there. Again, not necessary right now. I'm just walking you through this. If we go ahead and have you do that for the specific business model we recommend, we will walk you through that when we get there. And then settings here, this is specifically going to be where if you're going to put this website on a domain, which we'll walk you through again on an upcoming training, then that is going to be where the domain is going to be. Favicon. So favicon is going to basically be where the actual kind of little image that shows up. So favicon is this little image that shows up right over here inside of the browser. If you're going to change that, again, it's such a small thing, it's not that big of a deal, but I just want to show you that that is actually where it would be. And then obviously you see on here that there's a whole bunch of different, right? So this is the name of it, this is the path, this is the head tracking code, body tracking code. You don't got to worry about this for now. Image optimization, payment type, all these different smaller settings. You don't really have to worry about them right now. But one thing that I do want to show you here is that convert to funnel. This is why I said that the line between what a funnel is and what a website is a very fine line, because you can actually use a funnel as a website and you can actually use a website as a funnel. Okay, so there is a little bit of difference, but you can actually convert the two between each other as well. Okay, and that's under settings, but typically we try to make it, if it's a website, we kind of leave it as a website. If it is a funnel, we leave it as a funnel. Okay, and then you can see all of these are the different pages there. And then this button right here, this is actually the preview link. So if I click on that, it'll actually open up the page and preview what that specific page would look like. And then obviously I can go ahead and add a new page right over here. Okay, so with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been the tech tutorial on the actual website and page and funnel builder. So that way you get a little bit of an idea of like, hey, initially, yes, this might look overwhelming, but you just look at it like, hey, you know what? Look at this. I just got my green sections, I got my blue sections, I got my purple sections, I got my orange elements. And then all you're doing is you're just kind of building out the different elements, messing around with the padding, messing around with the background. And again, you're starting off with a template, and we're already going to make sure that you have 80%, 90% of that work already done for you. But it is also very important for you to be educated, so that way you can understand the foundations of this, and that way you are equipped and empowered, so that way you are not stuck to somebody's hip for the rest of your life, because that way you are a business owner who can make sure that you are rocking and rolling the way that you need to be. Now, the last thing I do want to go ahead and mention on here is that, is this everything that we just talked about, everything that you need to learn about the website and funnel builder? The answer is nope. Right? There's a bunch of small things here and there that you're going to learn as you actually get into the trenches, okay? But the thing is that you want to understand is that you can literally build anything with a builder like this, okay? That's what's most important to understand, is that if after asking ClientKit support, right? So ClientKit support, they went ahead and they have ClientKit support on here. You can go ahead and they have guides on this. If you want to go ahead and type in here, builder, right? They do have support around this, but obviously you can reach out via the community to be able to see if the community can help you with things if you're really struggling. But they also do, of course, have on here, right? They have the customer support, being able to talk to an agent. They have all of that support available for you. So make sure you are reaching out to them if you need additional support. And then you can also reach out to the community if it's something that is specific to anything that is an asset that we are providing, right? Those assets are going to be custom to our community, and so that way you can reach out if necessary, but they know their features very well as well, okay? So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been understanding the website and funnel editor. You now have the foundations to be able to move on to customizing the template, the website, the funnel that you need for yourself. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, we will catch you in the next training.